openly using hand sanitizer sometimes. Some even throwing face masks to the crowds. And the crowds are beaming and heaving because they are coming to see these political players. You ask yourself, is that showing leadership? And for me, that isn't. And it's concerning because irrespective of what anyone says, the virus hasn't gone away.
Okay.
Should worry us. And I know that as a people, we have been very fortunate in the sense that we've not had a lot of mortality. And almost 95-96% of our reported cases have been mildly symptomatic. But there has been a report come out today from the Blair Institute, which is saying that between 10 and 15% of all people who contracted COVID-19 are having a hangover effect, and that actually that could be the bigger public health crisis than the pandemic itself.
Okay, so Kwame, let me chip in this question now. I know that in some parts of Europe, they are battling with a second phase of the virus. Do we know what is causing the second phase to, come our way?
Yeah, what's causing the second phase is the intransigence of human beings. I mean, we all know how this virus moves around. It moves around from person to person, through the air, through contact with a contaminated surface, and so we know what you have to do.
Okay.
You social distance, you wear your mask, you wash your hands, and you avoid crowds. Throughout the world, a lot of people are getting fatigued with these very simple processes because they are not human default. And therefore, when they go into doing the things that they are not supposed to do, there's an eruption of the viral numbers.
Okay.
And as I speak to you, it's happening in Birmingham, it's happening in Manchester, it's happening in Liverpool, it's happening in Solihull, and you can see the human behavior. Here they do the hotspot mapping and all that. Anytime you look at a flare-up, or you look at a flare-up in the universities, for example, in all the universities that have been affected in the UK, Freshers Week, parties, then suddenly 700 people get infected.
So with what is happening in Ghana where, on the campaign trail, people are seen together, not observing any distancing, no wearing face masks and all that, what does it mean to our fight?
And obviously, it brings us into a situation where if there's anyone in any crowd who is infectious, they can spread the infection very quickly. And because the political activity is ongoing, then they give it to other people who quickly can go to other political gatherings and also go and spread it. This far, we don't seem to be seeing that ripple effect. And I am not too sure what is accounting for it. But what we can say also is that at the same time, we are not testing as many people as we used to do in April, May to about August. It could be that people are getting it, and because the symptoms are so mild, they are even not reporting it. And because of our testing strategy where now you need to actually feel unwell, fit the case definition, and get tested at a health facility, and we're not doing mass testing, we are missing all these things. And that's why I'm saying that the virus is not going away. It's just that we're being lucky.
So under the circumstances, what should we be doing? Because the campaign trail, they cannot suspend it, they will still go out there. What strategies, what can we do?
No, it's not about saying that they cannot suspend it. You see, in this country or in the world, we must learn a few things. What happened to Donald Trump must be a rude reminder to anyone who likes the political jamboree that this virus is no respecter of person. If you remember, there was a mass gathering in the White House on the East Lawn to name the nominee to the Supreme Court. So far, of the people who were there, 16 have tested positive. Right? So, why am I saying this? That was even a much smaller gathering. So all it takes is one person who is infected to be in that gathering, not observe the protocols, and to infect everybody and lots of people.
So under the circumstances, what should be done then?
We need our leaders to show leadership. I don't believe that the crowds and all that are the only way we can disseminate political information, or we can test our popularity. I get this inclination that both leading political parties are doing it because it's a show of force. It's a show of popularity. But the truth of the matter is, we have been in this country where people have filled sports stadia and have still lost election. I saw it in 2008. I saw it in 2012. I saw it in 2016. People filled stadium. If you remember, in 2008, the Kumasi Sports Stadium was filled. Do you remember?
Yes, I do, when they were raising funds for the campaign and all.
Thank you. But the MPP lost. 2012, the final rally where the platform collapsed. Do you remember? It was back to capacity. The MPP lost again. 2016, John Mahama filled the Accra Sports Stadium. Shatta Wale performed. It didn't change it. So we've got enough body of evidence, even before COVID came into being, to tell us that massing crowds is not the only sign of popularity.
But Kwame, again, sorry to cut in for one of time, but in all this, Kwame, schools are reopening today for JHS II and SHS II students to complete the term. What do you make of it?
You see, the point about education is we are living in a pandemic, but we can also not cut off the development of the youth. And that is why I have been a bit elaborate on the political activity. I would rather we have our schools open and our political players and us parents are showing leadership so that when the children go to school, they can at least in a more constrained environment. But with what we are doing, do I trust that the children will do any different? David, I don't. And that worries me. Much as I would rather the children go to school, I don't think the behaviors they are taking from their homes into school augurs well for our fight against this pandemic.
Isn't that why they have senior house-masters whose role and responsibility it is to ensure that they observe the protocols and then speak to the day students so that they would also comply with the directives?
There's a saying that charity begins at home. If the senior housemaster, senior house mistress, are political activists who go for rallies, I don't know if you've seen the footage coming from some nurses in the eastern region, nurses, health professionals, who totally abandoned the protocols and were massing next to the president's motorcade.
Yeah, for the president, yeah.
Yes. So, these are nursing students. Why do you think they were doing that? If their parents are going, what makes you think they who have a lower median age and are less likely to be struck badly by this virus, but are more likely to spread it widely, would listen to us?
What is your greatest fear with all that is happening? What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is the hangover. We do not have a robust enough health system that can deal with the fallout from COVID moving forward for even 3 to 5 years. And if the new report that came out this morning that I'm just reading, And that is why I have always said that the best thing to do is to avoid the situation in itself, behave wisely, and try not to contract the disease.
Kwame, thank you for your time this morning. As always, we're grateful. And we'll call you another time for some more conversations, especially on COVID. We're grateful, Kwame. And Kwame Sapoe is a pharmacist and a Democracy and Development Fellow with CDD. He joined us on the phone lines for a conversation this morning right here on Love 99.5. Now, I'm sure that by now you know there are students who belong to the JHS II and SHS II are supposed to go back to school as from today. Now, those who are in boarding houses, well, they will make their way to the boarding house, and those who are students, well, will be commuting from home and back to school. Now, I have with me here the students of Love 99.5, Dr. Michael Owusu. He's a lecturer at University and research scientist with KCCR. He is also Director, Center for Health Systems Strengthening, Kumasi. So, good morning to you.
Good morning, David.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
And thanks for your time. Now, you've been listening to Kwame Sapoe, and he says he has fears, he has worries. You tell me, do you agree with his fears? Do you share the same concerns like he's sharing?
Yes, David. I think we have spoken a couple of times on the same issues and have expressed same concerns. When it comes to adherence of protocols, and when it comes to how we use human behavior to manage pandemics of this nature, you know we have said time and time again that on the African continent, when it comes to using behavior to control or manage activities generally, it could be health, public health activities or anything, it becomes difficult. We are not used to people following guidelines, strict, doing things they are supposed to do. It's general, you know. And I always will refer you back to even before this virus came, how countries like Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone manage Ebola with their attacks, and how Guinea, especially in these sub-infections of Ebola, also behave. It's similar across. So when it comes to people responding and then following strict guidelines, having some sense of responsibility generally across the continent is something that is critical. And this is why, for me, I think the president did very well, like in the early days of this pandemic, as at 21st of March 2020, that he ensured that this Acquisition of Expression Act came into being. And the Act has quite some very good, though brief, but quite concise and focused on what should be done if we breach any of these protocols. And if you look at the section 6, it said that a person who fails to comply with a restriction imposed under the executive instrument issued and assert section 1 or 2 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of not less than 1,000 penalties and not more than 5,000 euros, or to a term of imprisonment not less than 4 years and not more than 4 years, or to both. So you see a president who is serious, wants to put in something, at least to put fear in people. People feel that look, we are not in normal time. So if you don't behave well, this is how far I want to go. And we encourage the police officers, the military and all that. They should ensure that people go in. So we have been through this. So even now, when people don't still feel that look, this is what is the laws of the country, it's against what you are doing. It is wrong. Initially it wasn't like that. You can't tell somebody to put on mask and follow anything. But now it is an offense. And you can see what you can be arrested, you can be jailed, you have to pay fines. But even this is not deterring people. But like I said, it's using behavioral change. You want to use behavioral change to manage things on the continent. Past experience and what we have seen seems to show that it's a big.
Okay, so with students going back to school, starting today, some parents have raised concerns and they're calling on the GES to ensure the safety of these students. Do you foresee safety as the students go back to school, especially those who will be commuting from home to school as day students?
Oh yes, I think they fight for now. The way things have gone so far. And for this current crop of youth, I don't have any fears because it looks like now seem to have some very good information, some data, and some experience that will guide these ones. So if you have followed through the Ghana Service guidelines, you realize that we are doing a prevalence about still around 10.5. Among travelers, also a reflection of the prevalence of the virus among carriers is about 0.2%. And recently, the Ghana Health Service have now come up with a reproductive number, which is what we are talking about. And as we speak now, as of September 26th, our reproductive number is 0.84. So, I mean, we have moved up, we go to about 2.4 somewhere in May, and now we are around 0.84. What this means is that technically, if you want to begin to open up, it is the best time to do it.
This is the best time to open up. Now, hold on for me, Doc, and I'll come back shortly to you for you to continue. I want you to listen to a conversation we're just about to have with the Regional NAT Secretary, Mr. Peter Boateng, who is on the phone lines right now. Mr. Boateng, good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother.
All right, so what can you tell us? We know that students who belong to JHS II, and especially your area, SHS II, are supposed to go back to school starting today. What can you tell us about preparations for the reopening in terms of the fumigation, the disinfection, the PPEs that ought to be given to schools and all that? What can you tell us about it?
Thank you very much. My greetings to your cherished viewers and listeners as well, especially teachers all over the world. Today marks our day. Today is International Teachers Day. So I think it's proper if I saluted all teachers across the globe with a special emphasis on NAT members, especially those in national television. I think over the period, getting ready for reopening has not been
I'm on your fumigation, the
Service and then the Ministry of Education to this extent, because they've made strenuous efforts at looking at how to get the schools back. And the teachers have been involved, especially the unions. We have had various stakeholder meetings over and over. However, it has not been the best in the sense that not all the schools as we speak of now have been fumigated, especially the basic schools. If you even go to see the nature, the atmosphere, how the place looks very bushy and other things like that, it does not tell exactly the needed preparations have been made. However, that does not entirely say that nothing has been done. For the senior secondary schools, they fumigated all of them. So that one, there is no much a problem to that extent. But for the basic schools, that lacked a little. Had enough of the fumigation and other things done there.
How about taking delivery of PPEs, the face masks, the sanitizers, and all that?
Yes, with the PPEs, I can say that the Ghana Education Service at the regional directorate, they've had enough, because almost every other day you see the truck offloading, and you see the various institutions also taking them away. I think the challenge has been that we are all looking up to what government does through the ministry and then the Ghana Education Service. Indeed, one cannot say that we can have all the schools supplied before school reopens. The challenge has been that we are asking of how many a child should have if you have to do with the face mask or the nose mask as we have been calling it. The first cohort of students who went to school had it in tranches. They were given, and then later, subsequently, they were given in that order. But it came out as if they were not given the number that was prescribed. But at the end of the day, everybody was given the prescribed number that they were told to have been given. But I think we cannot, as stakeholders, give the challenge only to government and to the Ghana Education Service. We all understand how dangerous the whole thing is. And so if it is worthy that we can also contribute to the cause, we are appealing to all stakeholders to play their role. As I was telling you the last time, for us, Ghana National Association of Teachers, or something regional branch alone, we felt that for government to distribute Veronica buckets, liquid soap, and other things, it may come all right, but then at what time? So the first thing we had to do to help the Ghana Education Service was to provide almost 100 Veronica buckets with 100 gallons of liquid soap. So that will be from our part. We are all calling on other stakeholders to ensure that, yes, the bucket cannot be only government, but for the Ghana Education Service, if you can send any of your guys to the regional directorate, you will go and find that they've taken delivery of most of the items and they are on daily basis distributing them.
But I spoke to a few headmasters this morning who have said to me that they have not taken delivery of any PPE.
Good. What I'm saying is that as and when they receive it at the region, they go on with the distribution. But one thing I can say is that for some time now, it appears we had to reduce the tempo as if everything is normalizing. And I see it as a challenge. Because in Kumasi, as we all walk around, you cannot see the seriousness as we attach to the whole thing somewhere May, June, July. It's as if as they continue to ease the restrictions, people are also easing how we must comply with the directives, and that is dangerous.
With all this, how prepared are you teachers? How prepared are you, the school prepared to ensure safety of these kids?
For us teachers, we are ready. Ready in a sense that protection of ourselves is our prime focus. So every teacher knows that whatever he has to do, whether given by the employer or not, every teacher is ready for now. I can assure the public that we are ready to go to school.
And you can also assure us of the safety of the students?
The safety of the students is what we are saying, that yes, we cannot provide what will go to save the children, but we are doing what will ensure that we have availed ourselves for the task ahead of us. Because if the Ghana Education Service is going to supply, the heads, I believe, that is Conference of Heads of Basic Schools, are in agreement, they are in consultation with the directorates to see how early the district directorates will get them for onward distribution to the schools. But in the secondary schools, it is not a problem because they have their vehicles and other things. So as and when the items are ready and they are invited, they go for them and then distribute. So for that one, it will not be a serious problem in the secondary schools. But the challenge has to do with the basic schools. Because these are children who roam about, who pass through town, get everywhere before they get to school. And as I'm pleading with the public, it appears we are losing focus on the whole thing. It's as if we have come to normalize it and now life is okay, we can go. But that is more dangerous.
I hear you.
Doctor, you can feel that we must not rest on our oars. We all have to join the crusade and take it as seriously as we have to do it.
Regional Secretary, Regional Secretary, thank you very much. That is Peter Boateng there. I'm grateful for your time with us this morning. And still with me is Dr. Michael Oso. So you've heard Peter Boateng there, Regional Secretary. Listening to him, what do you make of what he said? I mean, especially the public schools where he says he can say that not all the schools has been disinfected or fumigated.
Yes, I think that as a body like NAT, they should be able to liaise with government agencies, especially those at the various sectors, to ensure this is done. I think the president announced this in the last week. They knew very well that this is what we are going to have. I'm not too sure why some have been fumigated and others are left. So I'm not too sure what plan and what really went into this.
And again, I spoke to a couple of headmasters this morning. Some of them said to me that, they have not received any fresh PPE. What they intend to do is to rely on the ones that they have left from the ones they used during the exams. And they hope and pray that when the students themselves are coming to school, they will come along with some, face masks as well. So again, it tells you that the PPEs that are supposed to go to the schools have not gotten there.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm not too sure, but I believe if you get to government, we know we try to challenge the hospital. The government will say that yes, they have given out this, but when it comes to distribution to the lowest level, it's what seems to be a problem. I'm not too sure what is happening. And in the hospital we had our own issues where I'm not even did some investigations where government did so much in giving out these to various facilities, but then you had unscrupulous people in the system who had ways and means of doing their own things. And as I said, we seem to have this as a recurring event. This always comes in any time the next phase of an activity is to go on, there will be some of these, either PPEs or any such shortages. But government, I believe, with projection, will give out the plan, will say this is what I'm giving out. But then for those in the helm of affairs, for the GS directors and all the regions with their headmasters and all these various bodies, we have to sit down and ensure that this is done. It becomes a problem. And I don't know, we are in this IT system where you can use some packets to be able to monitor institutions and what they have and what they don't have. And they can just go online, fill in their complaints, and you can get back to them. So I think these are some of the things that we have to manage very well. And like I said, I'm not happy when before anything comes out, we have problems. Very soon, I know 30th October, the football activities will also have to start. And I'm sure we'll come back here again in the football, there will be problems. We don't have this, we don't have that. But we have quite some period to plan and to really look closely into this. So our energy is to liaise with government and lay on the ground and to at least give them feedback. And I'm sure once they do that, the
how do you expect the school to manage the situation? For example, if it's a boarding house, I'm sure that the teachers on campus can do something in terms of ensuring that the people observe the social distancing, and wear the face mask and wash their hands and all that. But for the students who will be commuting from home to school, if they're on school premises, they might wear the face mask. If they're on their way home, nobody knows where they would pass through before they get home and what they would even do, whether they would observe the distancing, there's a physical distancing and the word of the nose mask and all. How can we ensure that these students, abide and comply with the directives?
So before I come to that, I was trying to give you some understanding of where we are.
Mm.
And if school had been open somewhere in May, June, July, I would be one person who makes so much noise and we tell people that they don't know better. But I was just telling you that if you look at the data we have now, with the productive number of 1.84, you know what? And you have things like this. You need that the transmissibility of the virus. If you take 100 people around, you are likely to have one or two of them. So this is the phase where, as I said, a lot of things can be done. You can ease open up gradually, but then it doesn't mean that you should just relegate this to the background. The reason why I feel that I'm not so much worried about the schools is that we have an experience. The same teachers, the same headmasters who supervise this SHS opening, and they went through an experience. They observed what happened. Some because it was the first time, there were some skirmishes around. Some people were not too sure, others panicked. But with this SHS which has now gone and happily finished with their own, and then SH2 coming in, and even JHS staying with the basic schools, I feel that the headmasters and mistresses and teachers have some experience, and I will hope that whatever they learned from what happened previously, they will bring this experience to bear and ensure that we help our students. Like I said, once you have the rate of transmissibility down to about 0.84, if you manage things properly, it is very possible that you will not even have one infection occurring among the people. It is very possible, and this is what we look at. These are indicators we look at that will point to what we need to do. And for me, it is the best time to do this. But then it's my only hope that the teachers will, whatever they did those times, what mistakes they did, they will now learn new ways of managing the students. What wasn't available, they make sure that it's now available. And I hope that they will do better even than what was done.
So we shouldn't entertain any fears?
I don't think so. We don't have to. We just have to make sure that the mask is fully available. If we have to use sanitizer, these are available. And ensure that we educate the children very well. Like I said, I'm also waiting for somebody to do a research to tell us the impact of this COVID on children who have stayed home for some time. My personal observation and interactions with some of the parents across different parts of the country, they tell me ladies or girls who have become pregnant. And it's worrying. Parents that have children stayed home for some time. So the negative impact of this is huge, and I'm not sure we have been able to quantify this yet. So I'm always excited. I mean, if you are in this rate where you have about 0.84 that number, and children are going out to school, it can form of relief. And now they can go back to school, they can learn, they can educate themselves, they can get themselves doing something so that they don't become caught up within the society and get some of these bad boys and bad girls around and become a problem for all of us. So I think that with epidemiologically, with what the data shows now, it is the best. But of course, so the president is a statement. I want to tell you, I appeal to each and every one of you to continue to tread on the path constructed by government and follow religiously all the social distancing, mask wearing, and hand hygiene. They are and remain our weapons in the struggle against this virus. So we don't have anything to do. And as my colleague said, we are fortunate as a country that we are not even experiencing a massive second wave, which for me is somehow surprising, because if you look at countries like France and even Spain, where they are beginning to record higher number of new daily infections as regards to what happened before. Some of them have their hospitals becoming full again. Germany was one country that had the best of systems to manage this virus, but even they are now beginning to have this record. So for us to come to this level where you have very low numbers, reduction in new cases, the number below 1, and still having to manage them.
It's not a situation.
To do more in terms of adhering to the protocols, we are likely to move into a zero activity.
But you would agree with me that you would agree with me that majority of people are not observing the protocols. Like I made an example of the campaign trail where we have people masking up, not wearing face mask and all that. It's not a matter of we sitting on the time bomb.
David, it's a problem. As I told you, behavior, using behavior to control events. It's a difficult thing that, as I said, I mean, if you have a whole act, position restrictions act in place to ensure that people who flout these regulations are punished, and people are not even deterred.
Because nobody's being punished. And listen, you can join us now on 03-220-83596. Haven't heard from the experts. How assured are you that our schools reopen today for JHS II and SHS II students? They are safe. Haven't heard from the experts. You've heard from Kwame Sapon-Sedu. You've heard from Dr. Michael Osu. How assured are you that the children who are going to school as from today, that's JHS II, SHS II students, are safe? Let's hear from you. Give us a call. Let's hear your thoughts on the issue. And before we take the very first call, let me share this information. This is GT Bank, and it's good news because what that thing and everyone needs some support to get by. And quick credit is your transit in hard times. Now, when you make this call up, don't panic. Just pick up your phone and dial *73 *# *737 *# select payday credit and follow the prompts to access up to 100% of your money instantly. Yes, you heard right. Instant cash at 1.5% interest per month. You only need to provide one word and employers can retain money to be deposited to your account in a minute. GT Bank credit for every Brazilian. You call 03-02-611-560 03-02-611-560 or call toll free 0800-124-000. Let's go to the phone line and see our first caller. Joel, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joel. Welcome, Joel.
Hey.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Joel. Let's hear your thoughts on the issue, sir.
All right. Thanks for the educative program that you're giving us this morning. We really appreciate it. Yes, what the experts are saying is very true. As they are going school now, for the government, or we plead that the government should give relief items for the students. Because you said earlier that what about the distance of you going home? Maybe they will wear the mask of campus. What about them going home? They will be too supervised.
And Uncle, I said, where the flu or where the flu season? Where the flu season? It will be a flu crowd or flu on reported.
Just adhere to this, protocols so that we all become safe. Thanks for the educative program. They will not be with you.
Then be with you too, Gerald. Thanks for the call. George, good morning.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm well, George. Good to have you, George. 03-220-83596. You can also join us. George, you're already on air. Let's hear your thoughts on the issue, sir.
Hey, Christoph.
Thank you. Then we thank the government for opening schools again. But we also have to help the government to take care of the children. We cannot sit down and say government should supply everything even to the needle. So we have to talk to our children. My child is going to Form 2. He's going to school at Massey High. I bought sanitizer and a set of that blue nose mask. And I have talked to him to observe the protocols. And also the protocol is more like the pandemic is no more. When Anadu came to Aprama, I went there and baby, many people were not wearing their masks. And also the crowd, after that when they were sharing food, they come and see how people were masked. So the president has to come again, talk to the people, you see, so that we can observe the protocols, because the pandemic is still in the country and the world as a whole, so we can also be safe. David, thank you.
Thank you to George for the call. 03-220-83596. Students are going back to school, JHS II, SHS II. Haven't heard from experts. How assured are you of their safety? Christoph, good morning.
Good morning, David. How are you?
All is well, Christoph.
Yeah, David, what we saw when the hospitals were rising, I think that it's a good time for them to go to school. And after all, the disease is not as ravaging as we think here in Ghana. And that's what they did at the Form 2 who has wrote and the precautions that they in place, the class sizes were decreased and all that. I think that's good to go. And then I got to think from myself. Look, in Accra, where is the epicenter? There are no social distancing, there are no masks. I went to food, I went to weddings, nothing is happening. And so it means that by and large, we are getting out of COVID-19. And so I think our kids to be allowed to go to school. After all, we are the system, we are managing and we are winning.
Well, we lost him there as he was concluding. But listen, the fact that people are not observing that physical distancing and wearing those masks doesn't mean that the virus has left us. Nana Kweku, good morning.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
All is well, Nana Kweku. Good to have you as always.
Okay. So I want to talk from the perspective of a teacher and as well a parent. As a parent, I allow my children to go to school. And as a teacher, teachers have learned their lessons. Remember what happened in the agricultural and then in real schools where there was this slight infections. We've learned our lessons. And so we will be able to take care of the children that come to school. But as a country, we are losing sight of something. What is happening at the airport? Although the $1 that the government is charging where people are more or less paying too much, that is the thing that is keeping us safe now. Because this is from one person arriving from the airport, sneaking in with the infection. Right now, I don't know if you have the statistics, we have about 48 people that more or less arrived at the airport, and then the measures there, they were able to identify, even though they went through the 72 hours testing abroad. They got to Kotoka airport in Accra, and they were infected. They are isolated. So no more disease coming in. The ones that are getting infected right now, we are being taken care of. But please, parents, we are going to take care of your children coming to school. But don't leave everything to us.
Hello.
If your child is coming from home, and everyone that is listening, we are all parents. Who are last one about one thing? Go and send those back. Go to the school at Abia. Can I talk on that funny say? Wow, man, I find that no, not this media. Oh, dear. Also, what in case your body says, you.
Thanks for the call. Next on the line is Kwame. But before Kwame speaks, 03-220-8359. is the number to call. You've heard from the experts this morning. School reopening. How assured are you of the safety of the children? Give us a call. Kwame, good morning.
Good morning, David.
Good to have you, Kwame. What are your thoughts? Do you feel assured?
I think so far I have confidence in the COVID management team, and I believe if they say it's okay for us to reopen schools. Let's have confidence in them. I believe that will happen to the children. And David, somewhere first quarter of this year, you and I think Erasmus teacher and another started a program that really sought to. We are working citizens to know and accept our responsibilities. We went to a supermarket, we went to Methodist Church and some other places, and people who were found to do things which were not too good for the community were made to do the right thing. These days, you don't hear about.
I mean, give us 2 weeks tops. You hear it again. We're bringing it back. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the call, Kwame. And you can also reach us on 03-220-83596. You heard from the experts. Students are going back to school. How assured are you? Give us a call. Christoph says he didn't complete his statement. Yes, indeed, the line dropped. Christoph.
Yes, David. My advice to
messages
is that they should promote. In fact, at this they should promote it, and then create more classrooms. So the class sizes can be minimized. So initially, if they were taking 40 in a class or 15 in a class, right now it should be 20 or 25 at maximum. I believe by then you would have to manage and hold the whole team, because now most of the students are having learning deficiencies. There are people that I taught some things less than 3 months. They forgot about everything. And so if you don't match the people to do, then say, I'm coming to next year. Your man also bomb back. So I believe that the community is getting out of our system. So let's go back to school. Let's go back to our normal, but let's obey the protocol, and I believe that you can get wherever you want to go.
Thank you for your contribution. And Nothing is impossible even in these challenging times. CBG, your most trusted bank, gives you *924# to get digi with it, making it easier to get used to the new normal of banking and business transactions. With *924#, get digi with it. You can conveniently perform banking transactions anywhere at any time. Banks save with CBG with *924# and get digi with it. You may alternatively use their ATMs and electronic platforms. All their branches are opening their doors to serve you with first-class customer service. Now, that is to say, if you need in-branch services, know that they enforce all the safety directives for both their staff and you, their cherished customers. Now, follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CBG Bank Limited. Now, for further inquiries, you can call 0302216000. That is 0302216000. Get DG with it with *924# from CBG. CBG will stand with you. Well, let's pick one more call and then we'll be wrapping up our conversation. Dan Zuma is on the line. Good morning, Dan Zuma.
Just 1% are wearing payments, though. And it's very bad for us. That's what I wanted to say.
I hear you, Dan Zuma. And we can't pick any more calls. But, back in the studios, Doc, I have a concern, because the weather, it's like that people can easily have flu and stuff like that. And flu mimics coronavirus. So what should we be doing under such circumstances? Because students will wear normal cough, normal cold. So even if it's a normal cold or a normal cough, what should be the approach?
This is why I am counting on our teachers, our headmasters, headmistresses, and then the sick bay, the nurses available to this time not repeat some of these mistakes they made earlier. So this could be directly due to some of these infections like cold, but also a negative effect of that. This is what it's doing. Let me just explain. So in this season, what we are likely to see is possible upsurge in other non-unrelated SARS-2 virus like respiratory viruses, influenza virus A and B, and other things. These are other viruses that may come to play in this season. We also have Nigeria meningitis, which may also come to play. And I always refer to the Kuma countries within this season where they had an outbreak because of the numbers which were in schools, people coughing and sneezing. It will be difficult for children to really tell that, well, they are having some flu and they want to report themselves. It's quite unusual. But we'll count on the teachers and the nurses and the sick days to observe. Earlier we had situations where people were not observing what was happening. So if a child comes to you and says, I'm sick, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, the first thing to do is to take the child to a nearby facility. And as we speak now, testing is available. For us and cases here, government has given us a lot of reagents for us to test as many as we can. So once these samples come to us, we should be able to test and deliver results in short and around time. People should not wait for children to get sick, tell them to go home, they manage it at home, they take them to hospital, and then realize somebody has something has happened, and then we begin to complain. So the first thing is for parents and the teachers and the headmistress, headmasters, and the sick bay nurses and all the other health authorities to observe. And next is communication. So we had communication in the previous times where some of the teachers and some of the schools were unwilling to even communicate to parents about status of their children and what was happening to them. I don't expect that to happen this time. If you think that a child has flu, is having headache and fever, the first thing, once the child reports or you observe this, call the parent, let the parent come and come to the mental health facility and ensure they're taken care of. It shouldn't be that parents will have to troop to the facility that they have heard rumors or something and they begin to complain. I'm hoping that this time around we will learn those lessons. What happened previously for us to learn what to do. If we don't learn and something else happens, I will be very surprised. And I hope it doesn't happen.
Okay.
I will refer to the KS issues, also the negative impact of this. People who have diarrhea, if you think that this is not COVID, they have abdominal problems, you should know. So your rapid response strategies must be clear. You repeated this thing previously, but now it shouldn't happen that people may get sick and the teachers say we don't have PPE, so we leave them. I don't expect that to happen because we've gone through this before. So I hope that we should do what is right this time and ensure that we keep the children safe.
They'll be in school until at least to the 14th of December when they will be done with the exams. And for schools that are fortunate enough to have seen some fumigation or disinfection by now, would that be enough between the 5th, that is today, to the 14th, or they ought to be doing more fumigation and disinfection?
Well, David, if you tell me, I will tell you that it should be enough. And this is for the reason that the essence of the fumigation is very somewhere May, June, July, where you were having close to 90 out of 100 cases becoming positive, it was very necessary that at least once every 15 minutes, because people coughing, sneezing, for every aerosol that comes out, there has to be an attention. If you are doing now, I mean, on the population wide, based on travelers 0.3%, we have seen over 17,000 travelers and about 0.3 of them becoming positive. It's a reflection of what the population will be, which is quite encouraging. So if you space it within 2 months, for me, it's not a problem, because at any point in time, those who may have the virus will be one out of a lot, and the transmissibility itself may decide something new. So you could begin to relax some of this, but then you have to do it. And so for me, the mask wearing is very, very important. You know, we said previously that the mask wearing is not just for SARS-2, but then all the other respiratory viruses are transmitted through the respiratory portal. So respiratory viruses, you also have to live. Somebody has to sneeze and you have to contact Neisseria meningitis and streptococcus pneumoniae. All of this is through the aerosols. From you are sneezing, you are coughing, you are talking, and all that. So by putting on the mask, some of these other things will go down. You know, we recorded this Upper East having meningitis abscess. I'm hoping that if all children stick to mask wearing, it's possible we do not have meningitis.
If you have a child who is going to school today and the person is either a boarder or a day student, listen, it's your responsibility as a parent to speak to this child. Let the child understand the essence why he or she ought to observe the social or physical distancing, why the person has to put on a face mask, why the person ought to use a hand sanitizer. If we all collectively do this, we'll be safe and we'll win the battle against the coronavirus. Thank you very much, Dr. Michael Owusu. He's a lecturer with the KNUST and also a researcher with KCCR, and he joined us in the studios of Love 99.5. He's also the director for Center for Health System Strengthening right here in Kumasi. Doc, thank you for your time. Well, the hassle of